And we are live. What is up, everybody? Aaron the Dog back with Lewis of Norton MMA for another Bellator Breakdown back-to-back Saturday shows. This one in Moscow, so it's starting at an odder time, I think, for us. I think it's starting at kind of a reasonable time for you guys over there. But I'm not too sure. They don't make Bellator easy over for you guys, right? Even for the European cards, it's not easy to find.
No, I think they've got it on our BBC now, on our British Broadcasting Network,
Okay.
on the live player, but it's still really hard. Considering one of the owners of Bellator owns Channel 5 in the UK, I'm surprised they didn't just stick it on that. But it's really hard. Really hard to watch it.
Just one of the many things about Bellator that confuses me. They have a few of those things on this card, but I won't get negative because, first of all, we're doing a Bellator breakdown, Bunny, before you yell at me for getting negative about Bellator. Yeah, sometimes they just do odd decisions, but it's part of the beauty of MMA. Last week, we did pretty well on the card overall. Obviously, my allegiance to Julius Anglickas died hard. We had that moment in the first round where he landed the strike on the uppercut counter. Other than that, it was Nemkov justified his price.
It showed the level, didn't it?
Yeah, but I do think Julius will get better from this. It definitely is not. I don't think it's a fight where you're like, I can never be at the top level. He's just not at the top level yet. Yeah. Going from Gregory Milliard, who did lose to Javier Torres, so shout out to us on nailing the trash play of the night. Honestly, besides the main event, I don't think I missed a fight on the Bellator card. So I think that Julius cost me some pretty pennies on my long shot parlay, but it's worth it. It's all good. This is an interesting card. I'm just calling it Bellator Moscow. I know it's like Bellator 269, but they never advertise the numbers anyways. They should just go back to old school UFC. Just be like Bellator Outbreak, which wouldn't be a good name for a
name,
card.
Yeah,
but it's been a good little run. Contender Series last night, very successful, 4-5 on that. Questionable main event, but I did have Johnny Parsons, and I don't think it was a complete robbery. I just think it was a close fight and should have been a draw, frankly. But either way. How are you feeling about this card tonight?
It's got some hit and miss fighters, as all Bellator, cards do. But I am excited as a Fedor fan. It's a hit and miss fight for me because it could go really sideways. But I'm excited every time I watch Fedor, old Fedor, young Fedor, whatever. Just like seeing the bloke. Yeah.
I absolutely a Fedor fan. Also, I love when they do the promos for Fedor because he gets the first name treatment, even though it's like Fedor versus Johnson. It's not Emilanenko versus Johnson. It is Fedor. It will always be. I did a little ad on my Instagram, played the Fedor walkout Pride music, added that to it. I'm not going to hide. But I do like Timothy Johnson as well. So I think it's an interesting main event. We'll talk about that for sure. Contender Series was awesome. Miz, Luis Rodriguez, Thamaris, Bunny, obviously. Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Let me go ahead and get my board for time code so that Brandon doesn't put a comment on when he can message me privately, which is always fun. He puts that's just he likes to Brandon MMA Wagers. He sometimes does some shows on here. Instead of like messaging me about time codes, he'll put a comment that says time codes ? Which is super helpful for people clicking onto the video who weren't looking for time codes until, where are the time codes? But gotta love the guy. He's an interesting Canadian. We're an international channel here. We've got Canada, we got England, we've got Boston. We've got all the major countries. But without any further ado, Bellator 269, Fedor versus Johnson. I'm calling it Bellator Moscow. It's I believe there's a Russian in every fight. on the card. I didn't really notice, so I just looked. But is that true? Yeah, there's a Russian in every fight. Did not realize that. Did you realize that?
I didn't know, but I knew they were heavily featured, obviously.
Yeah. Obviously, I knew it was going to be heavily featured, but man, took me till just now to put that together. But anyways, first fight of the night, at least according to Tapology right now, usually kind of changes as fight week goes, but I would not be surprised if this was a little bit higher up because Gadsy Rabanov, I apologize for all of the pronunciation tonight. I am not from Eastern Europe. I know that it seems like it with my Midwestern accent, but not from Eastern Europe over here. Taking on Alexander Belik, Gadsy, former, I believe it was PFL when he was over there. It might have been World Series of Fighting when he was still there, but fought Steven Seiler over there, a few other fighters as well. His brother, I think, still is over there. Loic Radzadabanov just won the 155 or is in the 155 finals coming up here at the end of October. Actually, I'll be breaking it down, I believe, next week on the channel. But Gadsy taking on Alexander Belik here in what is currently the opener featherweight bout here. 16-4-2, Gadsy, 28 years old, taking on the from Russia, taking on the fellow Russian. I'm not even going to try to say where he's from. Blagoshenko. I tried to say it right after saying it. Alexander Belik, 28 years old as well. So two 28-year-olds, both weighed in at 150 for their last fight. So both had catch weight fights. Alexander, I'll be breaking down first, 9-4. Was able to find a good amount of tape on him. A little bit of a taller, leaner kind of featherweight. He did weigh in at 150, but definitely looks like he should be at featherweight. Pretty much a striker for the most part. Doesn't mix up the takedowns, does not like getting taken down himself. 28 years old, lost his last fight to a very good opponent, Tamir Krizriev, who was undefeated at 9-0 at the time. This was back in December of last year, so he's been off for over a year, nearly a year, I should say. But yeah, just pretty random level of opponents when he did take steps up with Arman Tsarukyan. Got choked out in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Got triangle choked by Brian Hui, who's a so-so fighter on the regional scene. He did also knock out Arman Tsarukyan. That was what does appear to be a lucky punch, but has a couple quick knockouts. Definitely not a grappler. Pretty much know what you're to expect from him. He's pretty much a kickboxer for the most part. Gadsy definitely mixes it up much more. 16-4-2. Gonna definitely be a heavy favorite in this one. 2-fight win streak. Took out Daniel Carey in his last fight. Looked really good in that fight. Ended inside of the first round. Mostly a wrestler and decision machine for the most part. And a lot of his fights doesn't have a ton of stoppages, especially when this level of competition has increased. So it was good to see him get that finish over Dan Carey. Honestly, I expect him to kind of just take this to the ground, maybe show that he has the ability to get a submission against a guy in Alexander who has been finished in 3 of his 4 bouts, I believe, including a guillotine choke and a triangle choke. So I do think the submission could be a route. Otherwise, a pretty clear decision for Gadsy.
There's not much I can disagree with there. I'm pretty, it is a kickboxer versus a heavy grappler here, and Gadsy, but Gadsy can strike. He's very good on, very good on his feet. I can't see it going out of the first because Gadsy's going to be fighting now a guy that likes to come out the gates hot, and he can control this wherever it goes. In my opinion, I think he's got the experience. He's fought better people. He's on a win streak. He's fought recently. I just don't see how Gadsy really doesn't finish him. And pretty quickly, to be fair. Yeah.
I mean, right now, you might as well get it now because this is one that's going to be you see these guys get steamed up to 10-1 odds, honestly, and he's at 5-1 right now, and that's how good he is for me to say 5-1 is still great. This is funny.
Yeah, win nothing.
TJ Molyneux, UFC Camp Addicts for life. Not so much, but I did help start that channel and came up with the name that Layton still uses. But how do you know about that, TJ? Is that from this show, or are you an old school fan? But either way, minus 500 for Godsey, plus 375 on Alexander. I'd put Godsey in all of my parlays already. I've added in the parlays for the UFC. I don't see him losing this fight, honestly. The way that he beat Arman Sarukian is the way that he's going to have to beat Godsey, which is a lucky punch, and then they're gonna rematch that fight immediately if it happens with Godsey, and the same thing. So, I mean, puncher's chance is all I give him, and plus 375 is a puncher's chance odds there. But yeah, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they changed the order and put Godsey a little higher. I don't think he even fought in the first fight last time out, so unless they just want a very stellar guy to start out, I don't know why they would do that. But such is next fight at 145 here between Aidan Lee, your countryman, and Alexander Osterov, the Russian in this case. Yeah, I'm going to be saying the Russian quite a bit, as I pointed out there. I just can't believe I noticed it, but like I didn't realize it was every fight. But Alexander Osterov 8-2-1, 9-5. Aidan Lee here. Osterov 5'9" versus the 6'75" reach of Aidan Lee. That's always a thing that sticks out with Aidan Lee fights, especially in the featherweight division here. Osterov 8-2-1 on a 3-fight win streak, fought in June of this year. All things that you like to see. 3 fights in 2021 after being off for a couple of years after losing to Sergey Morozov in a really good fight. Lost in the 4th round of that fight, actually. It was a very good fight, though. And then an undefeated Armen Goulian by a heel hook. I don't know why, and this is maybe a problem with me, but anytime someone loses by heel hook, I don't know why. I'm like, okay, that is a loss, but it's not. I don't know. You go back and watch the fight, and up until then, he was honestly doing quite well in the fight. And most fights are not going to be involved in a lot of leg scrambles. So, it's just not the worst way to lose. Did have a couple very close fights, including with Ludovic Shaolinian, who is fighting this weekend. MMA Ideas broke the news. Shout out to him. He's just starting to break like the international fight news before MMA Junkies knows about it and everything. So it's pretty cool to see there. But yeah, good fighter also in Ludovic. He fought on the contender or on the Ultimate Fighter. Good level of competition. Has fought quite a few undefeated guys. Gone to decision quite a bit in his fights as well. All things I honestly like to see. Very well rounded. Good wrestling, and the strikes have really started to come together. The last 2 have been his first 2 finishes as a pro, albeit over a 10-10 guy in Konstantin Kiriev, and then an 8-3 opponent I'd not heard of, but still a head kick finish coming there. Good wrestling, just I think good overall prospect. Getting into his prime here at 25 years old. Fought most of his fights in Russia. Doesn't have to travel here. Aidan Lee is the one who is traveling. English product, 9-5, 6 foot, as I said, 75-inch reach. Head coach Tom Breeze at Team Renegade BJJ. Aidan Lee's very, very tricky grappler, tricky striker as well. Came up against Aaron Pico, who's kind of hitting that next level now, where he's finally realizing he's a wrestler and just putting it all together. Other losses coming to Saul Rogers and Dean Truman. Good guys. Dean Truman, not a bad Cage Warriors vet there to lose to.
Ex-champion.
Yeah, exactly. Ex-champion. I think, he's come up against some rough times lately, but went over Ludovic Klein as well back in the day, which lost a little bit of his luster over the last week. But still, good win there. I think that this is a tough matchup, honestly, to call, but I am leaning towards Osterov. I just think that the strength and the wrestling and the grappling are going to be tough for Lee in this one. Osterov has also faced a few lengthy opponents when I was watching his tape. Maybe not quite 6 foot, but seems to do well of ducking and moving underneath the longer, lengthier strikes to get into his range. And I think grappling-wise, he's going to be just much stronger. That seems to be for Lee the biggest problem in most of his fights is, the strength of Pico was just, I'm not saying obviously Osterov is Pico, but the strength was just, it really sticks out in a lot of Lee's losses. He seems to kind of get over physical, and I think that happens here. So I like Osterov by decision.
Yeah, it's a head and heart for me here because smart. Aidan has the reach, and he can win this, but he's going to have to be on his bike the whole fight without stopping. And Aidan's got a big weight cut. He's a big boy cut into this weight class. I remember seeing him against Dean Truman fighting, and Dean's a big dude for that weight class as well, and he just muscled him. He ragdolled him. And that's kind of what happens. Jeremy Petley, he's got a win over Petley. Petley fights at a London Fight Factory in Old Street in London. And he's got a lot of experience, but he's bang average. And I mean bang average. So that win to me doesn't really signify anything. I think Aidan's lost like 4 or 5 out of his last 6, like in my head. Because the Jeremy win, yes, it's a head kick, but Jeremy's just not there. So I don't rate him really. Damien was a decent win because of just the way he did it. He has got good jiu-jitsu on the ground, Aidan. He's really lanky. He's got the legs. He does wrap people up nicely. But I just feel like, the wrestling here of Alex is he's just going to pin him. He's not going to maybe look to transition as much. He's going to look to bulldoze and run through Aidan and put on that statement. And at the young ages, he's just coming into his own now. I think he's fought some good guys, and it's in Russia. English people do not fight good over in Russia. They just don't. The crowd is toxic to them as we are toxic to when they come over here. So, I don't think Aidan really makes it out the first, to be honest with you.
Did you know Aidan Lee? Did you know Aidan Lee's only 26?
I did, yeah, young dude.
Why did I think he was so old?
Because he's been on the scene for a long time. In case stories, he came on when he was like 20 years old, and he was teaching with Tom Breeze back then. From Birmingham. Jesus. So
that blows my mind. That is crazy.
Few others, but he's young, but he's got a lot of miles on. He's got a lot of wear and tear. So survived 3 rounds of Pico, but I just don't see how he can beat Alexander here. I'm definitely going Alexander in a quick one at that. I think it'll be a first round. I don't think he survives the brutality.
So you think Alexander's figured out the finishing sauce after 8 or 6 straight wins to start his career? He said, "I got finished a couple times, and now I'm gonna." I think the Morozov fight.
He's coming off 2 straight quick finishes, isn't he?
Yeah, and his first 2 of his career as well.
So I think he's just going to run through Aidan. And that hurts.
Yeah, in Russia,
I do really like Aidan Lee.
Aidan doesn't turn down a fight, and we'll talk about their Nurmagomedov management team in a little while. But that definitely is not Aidan Lee's management team. I'm just gonna
MVP. He needs MVP's manager.
Yeah. Oh boy. Let's not bring up MVP. Too soon. But just real quick, gonna give a little bit of love to the comments. Justin, every time you guys have a show on Wednesdays lately, I've been at a concert or local fair. That's so specific, and you watch us at both. Appreciate that. I can't imagine seeing some dude at a concert like with his headphones in, looking over. It's like, are those people just talking about MMA? And now you awoke Bunny by bringing up MVP. No, we don't want to bring up MVP. We know Lima won.
She needs to make a T-shirt.
Yeah. She already has made a gravestone and wants to give it to Scott Coker, I think. So she swore off Bellator for quite a while there. But anyways, before I get killed and have a gravestone myself, we're going to move on to the welterweight division. All right, there we go. With Igracik Bosnian, I believe he's from Bosnia, but I'll check in a second here. Taking on Alexey Shiretkovich, who is, believe it or not, Russian. So this is a very interesting fight. Grachik, Bosnian. He's kind of had an interesting begin to his Bellator career. He's from Armenia. I just assumed Bosnia because his name was Bosnian on the end, but he's from Armenia, fighting out of Russia now, Moscow specifically, with Bingo Boom Fight Club. 6 foot, 76-inch reach, which 75-inch reach for Aidan Lee last fight at featherweight, just to point out how absurd that is and just how that really could be a factor. But taking on Alexey Shiretkovich, 12-4 Russian, 29 years old. You just never know how old a Russian is looking at him. I was like, he looks young and old. I don't know. 6 foot fight out of Alexander Shlemenko's gym of Storm Gym. I believe they have quite a few people on this card, if I'm not mistaken, but I know Alexei is one of them. 12-4. He's got the Fedor necklace or whatever that I don't know what that is, but it's the necklace I've seen Fedor wear. 5 straight wins for the 12-4 Russian, 29 years old, for fighting Sambo style out of Russia. Storm Gym, as I said, took on Slamikan Yusupov in his last fight, knocked him out. I believe his brother also fights for PFL. Honestly, looking at the record, I don't know a lot of these fighters. He does have a win over Kazmat Dayadev, who just looked fantastic on the Contender Series. He knocked him out. Dayadev has quite a few knockouts for losses, I think 2 or 3 actually. So knocked him out in the first round. Definitely his most notable opponent. Other than that, I don't really know these fighters he's beat or lost to. His losses have all come by decision. It's kind of just tough to say. He stayed very active. He has, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be his 5th fight of 2021. After 2 fights in 2020, so no slowdown at all with this guy. His last 4 opponents have been 9-4, 8-5, 1-0, and 14-6. Yeah, just it's just pure Russia. Like throwing a 1-0 guy that he knocked out in 3 minutes. It's just like I don't know why you're fighting guys with 13 fights and then fighting a 1-0 guy, and just stayed active right after he fought. I mean, he's fighting. He fought in May 29th, June 20th, July 24th. And then took a whole 3 months off before this fight. Was supposed to fight Christian Elkliklin, who I'm not unfamiliar with. And now he's fighting Grachik Bosnian, who's coming in on short notice. Grachik Bosnian is the Armenian, 11-4. He was introduced to all of us on Bellator when he fought Austin Vanderford. He put on a decent performance there. It wasn't too bad, wasn't too amazing. I mean, he didn't get finished by him. He didn't get arm triangled by the arm triangle master, so I'll give him the credit for that. But it was a weird fight for him. He was coming off a loss to Jonas Bilstein, who I know as the guy who got knocked out by Dustin Stolfus. So not exactly a super notable thing to be known as, but Jonas, he's a good journeyman on the European regional scene. He's got wins over Shamil Abdullah-Khaliyov, who is not Shamil Abdurakhimov, so don't get confused there. He did not go up to heavyweight and triangle choke Shamil, which I was confused for in a second. His second Bellator fight, just kind of out-grappled and outmaneuvered DeMarcus Jackson. DeMarcus Jackson, we've seen how good DeMarcus Jackson is. He's okay. Honestly, I just don't know where I'm leaning too much on this fight, but I will take the Armenian Bosnian just by decision, but still just not quite sure what Grachik is exactly through a couple fights in the UFC or in Bellator, I should say. I apologize. But yeah, what are your kind of thoughts on this fight and thoughts on Grachik? Have you got a read on this?
The first thing I'd say is I wouldn't touch this fight, betting perspective. This is a complete roll of the dice for me. It's not as clear cut. I like a clear cut in my own mind, at least, if I'm going to put some money down. But I think Alexey coming off all those fights back to back to back to back to back on such a short space proves that he's not getting injured. He's not getting touched. He's not getting hurt. He's just racking up wins now. He's hitting cans, but they're not cans. They're actually reasonable people. Other than the 1-0 guy, maybe he's got an ex-kickboxing record or other combat sports or something, and they, wasn't such a mismatch. That can happen. But
Right.
I'm unaware of the opponent anyway. But they're the sort of things I like. Whereas we've got Grachik. I liked him against DeMarcus Johnson. It was a bit boring, like his style, but it's super effective. I don't know whether he can impose that wheel on Alexey. I think Alexey is the up-and-comer here. I think he's the one that wants to show what he's made of coming into Bellator now. I rate that he's gone to the decision with Austin Vanderford, but again, he's still on the wrong end of a decision, and that's not good enough for me. So I would sway towards Alexey on this, personally, but I also would not bet anything with this. So if people are going with Alexey, I would take it when I win.
It's very close odds. Minus 135 favorite is Alexey Shiretkovich. The Russian Grachik Bosnian plus 105. You know what? I'll take a shot at the dog Grachik. Why not? I'm a degenerate. I like the Bellator experience here, and for me, I mean, they aren't cans, but I also am a little suspect when you're able to just line up fight after fight that, yes, you're not getting hurt, but also does that have to do with the level of opponent that you're facing where it's just like they're not going to hurt you? I mean, I looked through a few of these guys' records, so.
If you look back to old opponents and Cage Warriors fighters, for instance, back in I'll take Dan Hardy as an example. Before he entered the UFC, he was fighting 7 times a year.
Right.
And that's the kind of standard these guys fight at. Their records, as they entered the UFC, he had 25 fights on his record.
Very true.
These guys, he's a young guy, but in today's world, obviously, it's like you have a fight camp. You have to do this. You have to do that for 3 months to 6 months, whatever. These guys in Russia, they fight differently. So I'm not taking it as in they're necessarily cans, but just they're more old school over in that side, that area.
No,
that's
definitely
in my head anyway. I could be completely off it. And he's just fighting children, but
it's matched as a close fight here. I think it is a very, very close fight. So I'll take by decision or Grachik by December, according to Miz. But I'm trying to keep up with the chat, but you guys are just going off. So that's why moderator Bunny's here to control you savages. But next fight here at 100 and is this at 135? I never know with Brian Moore. This is at 135 pounds. I make no secrets about the fighters I really like. I love me some Brian Moore taking on Nikita Mikhailov. That's about as good as I'm going to say. I'm going to stick to Nikita from here on out. Mikhailov is pretty solid pronunciation by me, if I say so myself. But we got a 22-year-old Nikita here, 7-1, fighting out of Russia. Alexander Nevsky's camp, Dario Oskol, against the SBG Ireland product, Brian Moore, Pikeman. 14-7, 34-year-old Irishman, 5'8", 69-inch reach. So these guys are pretty small, not smaller, but not big. Bantamweight's going to match up pretty well physically and I think from a skill perspective. But Nikita, 22 years old, definitely on the rise here. 3 straight wins for the 7-1 Russian here. He has gone to a decision in all 3 of his last 3, albeit a good level of competition, especially his last fight against Muhammad Emilanenko. Went to 13-0, but that was in April 2019. So it's been over 2 years since he's fought last. I think that Corona got in the way of a few things with Fight Night Global, and an injury actually kept him out of a bout in October of 2019, and then. Hasn't fought. So he hasn't fought since then. Look back, and he's faced a decent level of competition. I don't know too many of these guys. He did lose back in July of 2017. Wasn't able to find that fight, but was a 10-5 opponent. Yeah, I mean, he's a very, very solid Russian fighter. I just don't know how else to describe him. From what I was able to find his last 3 Fight Night Global fights, good stand-up, goes to takedowns about halfway through each of the rounds in each of the fights. Did fight very closely in his last 2, which is why they were split in a majority. Brian Moore, 14-7. We all know him we should know him pretty well. Bellator veteran, has won 3 straight. Jordan Winsky, I was trying to think of him earlier when I was talking about Alexander Bickel, because Jordan Winsky kind of fights like Alexander Bickel does, just at 135. So like that tall kickboxer, throws naked leg kicks. But yeah, Moore was an underdog in that fight. I was all over him in that fight against the 11-2 fighter in Winsky. And he pushed the pace, got the decision, a very clear decision before that. Knockout of a good Simone Diana, and then got a good decision over in Bellator Birmingham. His only losses coming to AJ McKee, up a weight class, and he rocked AJ McKee in that fight. Gave AJ McKee his hardest fight in Bellator still to this day, including his championship bout, was Brian Moore. So then moved down to 135 after losing to Noed Lahat, who's another very good former UFC huge featherweight. I really like Brian Moore at bantamweight. Nikita, I'm not as familiar with from the tape I was able to watch. He's very solid, but nothing really blew me away or stood out. 22 years old. I think this is calling for Brian Moore to give him a lesson and give him a rough introduction to Bellator. Maybe I'm picking with my heart too much here. I'm going to go with Brian Moore, though, and I like him to win another decision. I think that he can mix it up a little bit better. I think he's going to be physically – he's so strong for the 135 division. It blows me away that he was fighting at 145 and being so competitive. But at 135, I like him here. Veteran decision for Brian Moore.
Brian reminds me of like a little Irish John Lineker.
Yeah,
like that's to me what he is like. He's a little pit bull, isn't he? And he's going to give him a lesson. I think 22 years old, you are fresh. He's winning a lot before COVID, so you think he's 20. The last time he fought, he was a teenager to 20. So he hasn't fought in a while. He's been training his ass off, no doubt. So the dude's obviously got better. He's going to be physically stronger than he has. He's going to, his physicality is definitely going to have improved. But Brian Moore has fought before. He's beaten people at the top of the ranks in this division, in this organization. So Brian Moore to me is going to be that loss on Nikita's record that was the turning point for my career, losing to Brian Moore and so on. I can't see Brian Moore getting out strengthened, out powered. Even the speed of Brian is still there. At 34 years old, he is just, I think he's a class above at the moment for this division. Like, I think he can push on and even like get into a challenging position with a win or two. So I've got Brian Moore all day in this fight.
Yeah, this is shocking. Nikita is a 3-1 favorite, minus 300 on Nikita Mikhailov here. Brian Moore.
That might be a bit of Russia playing into that, maybe.
I mean, Brian Moore is, once again, Brian Moore is cast as an underdog 3 times in Bellator. So it doesn't bother me. Plus 240 on Brian Moore, 2.5 to 1 underdog. It's quite crazy to me. Huge Bellator experience. I am all over that dog. And I don't say it often, but I might be parlaying Brian Moore as a 240 underdog as well in the spot or two, because I think that those odds are completely wrong. It has not opened in most books yet, so I think this is when it does, the money's going to pour in on Brian. I think it's going to shift much closer to a pick'em, because that's what it should be. I think this is a close fight. Let me make that very clear. When it's plus 240, that's what gets me so excited on Brian Moore's side, because I don't think it's that kind of mismatch at all. So I just wonder. The odds makers sometimes kind of set it up this way to get the line steamed one way or another. I wonder if that's what they're doing. But right now, it is indeed juicy. I agree. But look at you using the betting terminology, Bunny. Bunny went from not wanting to ever hear about the odds to now bringing up odds as a reason she gets pissed off about fights. I'm just proud. Very, very proud. This next fight, oh boy. I hear a sizzle, and it might be because it's my steak fight here. Irina Alkatseva taking on Stephanie Page. Stephanie Page, I don't know. She's from France, so I'm not sure. It's probably not just Stephanie Page, like this American thing. It's probably Stephanie.
I think it is just with a French accent. It's fine.
Stephanie Page, 5-2 for the 33-year-old, 5'4". And this fight, by the way, is at flyweight, taking on the 3-1 31-year-old Russian. There we go. We keep our Russian streak alive with Irina Alexeyeva, Russian Ronda. I don't know if that's a play on Russian Ronda Rousey or what. Didn't look into it much, I'll be honest. 5-2, Stephanie Page. Okay, here we go. 33 years old. She's 5'4". Lost her last fight back in July of this year to Flora Hanai with Hexagon MMA. I believe it was for a title. Flora Hanai, not a bad fighter at all. I've watched her in I watched her quite a bit in LFA. Very solid fighter. And it was a split against Flora, so no real shame there for me. Rest of her fights against complete unknowns. 0-0, 0-2, 4-6, 2-5, 1-0. So, yeah, I'm not going to go back and watch a ton of that. One finish in those. Got armbarred in one fight. That's about all I got on Stephanie Page. Irina Alkatseva, 31 years old, 5'8", so she's going to have a reach advantage, I would assume, in this fight as well. Also coming off a loss, albeit by decision. She lost to an 8-6-2 opponent, and it was in December of 2019. She hasn't fought in almost 2 years. Has an armbar win. Also, she has a win against one opponent. The method of victory, refusal to fight. 3 minutes into the fight. 0-0. Glorna Gravara decided she didn't want to fight anymore. 0-2, 5-5, 8-6. I'm going with Stephanie Page decision. Not putting $1 on this and going to be cooking my food.
There's not much more for me to add to that. It's pretty much the same here. Yeah, I mean, you go with the person that's actually fought people that have fought, not people that have just gone, I don't want to fight anymore. So,
refusal to fight. 3 minutes into the fight.
And I was expecting her to have judoka. You know, she's got like Taitoshi trips and Jujikatami arm bars, all that stuff on her record. But no, just a refusal to fight, win a decision, and then nothing for a couple of years. So no, you go with the Frenchie.
Yeah. I agree.
Don't bet on this one.
Yeah. Stephanie Page is the underdog. They're trying to get me to bet on this. They're trying to get me to throw my money away. Fine, I'll bet Stephanie Page is a plus 120 underdog. I just don't get why Irina Alkatseva or whatever, Alsekaveva, whatever, is a favorite. So I'm a degenerate. I'll put a couple bucks on the underdog with double the amount of fights. Jesus. These two women fights, they don't do any favors to the women fights at times, the female divisions in general, Bellator, because this next fight, I'll still be cooking my steak, I guess, because Darina Mazaduyuk taking on Katarzyna Sadura at 125. We're really trying to build this flyweight division up, Bellator. Thank you. 3-1 against 4-4. I mean, I know the Red Queen, Darina Mazaduyuk, she got famous for beating up like a really big guy, like a really heavy set guy. So if you Google her, she knocked out like a 500-pound man who was trying to attack her or something. That's all I really know. I don't even want to go into these records. We've got a lot of fights to talk about. Honestly, she's 4-4, Katarzyna Sadura. She's from Poland. I mean, she's 5'7". She's fighting out of a camp called Octopus. There's that. She lost her last fight by arm triangle. It was in December of 2019. She rear naked choked a 10-4 opponent, so that's great. Never heard of the opponent, but that's good. She got knocked out. She got rear naked choked, knocked out. against Sinead Kavanagh in 2016. I mean, she's faced a very high level of opponents for the most part, all things considered, all of them having many more fights. Darina, the Red Queen, looks like she could be marketable. 29 years old, 3 straight wins. Actually 3 wins, 2 straight wins. Lost a decision, had a ref stoppage in a 4th round of a fight. Combined record of her opponents is 1-0 for all 4 of them total. 1-0. So, yeah, she's fought nobody. I'll take the 4-4 girl.
I'm gonna take the Red Queen if she can knock out a 500-pound man. And yeah, don't touch this fight
Lord.
with your money.
All right.
I'll take the Red Queen just to be different from you.
Well, the Red Queen's a minus 200 favorite. If you're betting the Red Queen at minus 200, yeah. It's cue the Michael Jordan clip. Stop. Get some help. You don't need to bet this fight. There's just other. Miz loves the red hair. Yeah, you're a big fan of red hair. That's great. Yeah, and so yeah, just don't bet this fight. Minus 200 on Darina. Sadura coming back at a plus 160. So I got the 2 dogs in these low-level women's flyweight bouts there. Make some food during that time, guys. Those are some rough fights, I'll be honest. Back to the professional mixed martial arts card here. Vladimir Tokov taking on Aimard Gwyn. This is the first of the 2 Tokovs. This is at lightweight. Vladimir is 5-1. Last fought against Chris Gonzalez. Taking on Aimard Gwyn. Barracuda, the welterweight out of France, 15-12-1. So we've got a very experienced guy against a young up-and-comer who got a little bit tested in his first fight in Bellator. But first is Aimard Gwyn, Barracuda, 33 years old, 5'9", 71.5-inch reach, fighting out of MK Legion in France. He's won his last 3, including a split decision over Chris Bungard. That's definitely a very notable win, a very good win. Chris Bungard's a very solid opponent. Was a really highly competitive fight. Fun to go back and watch that. It was from the Euro Series with Bellator. Went over to Hexagon. Got a win over a 7-8 opponent by ground and pound. So good for you. Also beat a 3-0 Yao Krufes. Lost a decision to Yves Landau. Also got choked out by Colin Fletcher back in the day in 2016. A lot of his losses coming to pretty notable guys like Matt Inman, John McGuire, decent level Brad Wheeler even. I mean, he's been around since 2012. Been fairly active throughout. He's won a few, lost a few in a row. Mixes it up well. Honestly, known a little more for his grappling. Has some good submission wins as well. But yeah, he's tricky guy. Vladimir Tokov came up short in his Bellator debut against Chris Gonzalez in August of 2020. It was a very close fight for sure, but I definitely remember Tokov going into that fight with a ton of hype. I do believe he's one of the guys who trains with Fedor. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I believe so. Also his brother fighting later on the card. He's going to be prepared for this. This is going to be his 4th Bellator fight now. So just got into Bellator pretty early in his career, and he's stayed here. Good wrestling, good just overall ground and pound, positional guy. His stand-up leaves a little bit to be desired, honestly. And I think Wee is going to push it to the stand-up realm because I think these guys are going to cancel each other out in the grappling and wrestling. So I don't think this is an easy fight for Tokov. I'm going to take Tokov, but I think it's a competitive decision, honestly. So
to me, if the betting line is not a pick 'em for this, I'd be quite surprised because of the experience of Gui. to Vladimir here. Vladimir is the up and comer. He's got a lot of hype. Bellator saw him early and were like, we're grabbing him because he could be a star in the future if he, And I'm when you said he trains with Fedor, I'm pretty sure I've heard that as well. So, there's a lot of hype behind Vladimir here, and he's high up the card for a reason with very minimal fights. They do like him, but yeah, he's fought my mate Brad. He's fought a load of people around the clock, so he's got the experience. With the amount of fights he's got. With 28, 29 fights, but bad at maths. The experience could play a big factor here. If Vladimir gets hurt, anything like that to people with a very low record, but there's a reason they've match made him like this. I'm going to go with Tokov as well. I don't know if it's going to be an easy fight. I think it's going to go one way or the other. It's either going to be total domination by one person. So I'm going to say Vladimir dominates him. I don't think it's going to be back and forth like you think, which is great. But yeah, it's going to be Vladimir for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that I'm not going to be touching from a betting perspective too much. It's already a minus 500 for Vladimir Tokov, 5-1 favorite. The odds are expecting this to be a blowout for Vladimir. I'm not too surprised. I'm expecting, honestly, both Tokov brothers to be pretty highly lined up, just because that's how a lot of times these seem to work. So
training partners is everything as well. I don't know who Amar trains with, whereas Tokov is training with the best in Russia, essentially.
You're right.
So,
yeah, I mean, there's a reason his record is 15-12. He fights anybody, anytime, and for any reason. So I'm not going to think all of a sudden he took this fight really thinking it through. But yeah, I mean, he's a good veteran, good grappling. It could just come down to whose stand-up is better, which is how he lost to Chris Gonzalez, who by no means is a stand-up superstars. So I mean, Chris Gonzalez and Tokov was really the winner of that fight, was going to get put into a sphere of competition they weren't ready for way too soon, which we just saw with Gonzalez. And now with Tokov, I think he's being placed a little more appropriately here. So it's an interesting one. The odds certainly are expecting it to be a blowout for Tokov. I'm not as sure there, but it's a good fight at lightweight there. We got the veteran and the up-and-comer, but we're both on Tokov here.
I think one important thing to note on that, though, as well, is Ahmed is coming down from welterweight. He's a big man. So
very good point.
If that could sway you, it could.
Yeah, and at 33 years old, again, it's just minus 500. I just think is a little bit tough, a little bit over. But Tokov, I do agree. He's the natural 45er here. He should take it. Next fight here, it's the featured fight on the prelims that are going to be on YouTube starting at noon, I believe, in the States, 5 o'clock over on your side of the pond. But it's a heavyweight fight between Baby Fedor. I don't know if he's still called that in his 30s, but he was called that at 19. Creole Sidolenikov versus Rab Truesdale. I know, Bunny. Wait till you hear some of these other odds on these fights coming up. And the famous newsbreaker himself, many of MMA ideas. Welcome to the show, sir. You got any exclusives to drop on the show while you're in the chat? Go ahead and put them on the screen. And yes, indeed, UK finally catching a break, even though they don't make it easy for you guys to watch them still. They're like, we'll give them a break. But, we're not going to make it easy for you to watch, but we'll be at a time where you're not going to be ruining your entire sleep schedule. So 1 week we're going to
every Saturday staying up till 1 a.m. to watch prelims it does take a toll.
Yeah, but Bunny is saying minus 500 is where you get annoyed. Wait till you get to Usman Nurmagamedov, sweetheart. Wait till you get to that fight. Good Lord. I'm still counting the zeros on those odds. It's insane. But Creole Sidolenikov, God, I said it over and over again before this show, and I said it perfectly. Now I feel like I'm not saying it right. Against Rab Truesdale, Scotland versus Russia here. Rab Truesdale is just, what are you doing here, man? 10-7-1, fought at 205 in his last fight. Baloo here. Wasn't able to find a ton of tape on him. The one fight I was able to find was against Paul Taylor. heavyweight Paul Taylor. And Paul Taylor ended up knocking him out with ground and pound in the first round. So other than that, I really had to kind of go with paper for most of this. I did see the Kasim Aras fight as well, but he got finished in 3 minutes in that fight. And that was in July of this year. And it was at heavyweight. He didn't look like he was too big for that one. He actually had a fight scheduled with Carl Albertson earlier in the year that he got injured for. So he was jumping between 205 and heavyweight. Kind of has done that throughout a lot of his career. A lot of decision wins. Been finished by submission in most of his losses, but did get ground and pound in one as well. I mean, there's not a lot here to really say about Rab. Baby Fedor, Creole is 12-6, still goes as Baby Fedor on Tapology, 33 years old. Won his last fight out, 12-6 overall, Sambo style. His losses came to Adam Karish, who's not a bad guy at all. He's only 4-0, definitely an up-and-comer with Bellator. I think it'll be interesting to see what he does with his career moving forward. Then Sergey Pavlovich, another very heavy-handed guy. His fight with Chris Barnett with Ryzen was fantastic. It's a really fun watch to go back and watch. Had a nice knockout of Carlos Toyota, and that was his last finish in 2015. Since then, he's kind of turned into a decision machine. I think that he gets back on the finishing track, ground and pounds out. Rab Truesdale. Rab seems to, once the adversity hits, kind of look for the escape button, and I think Creole Baby Fedor in Russia. Come on.
Yeah, he's going to be the massive fan favorite as well as the bookies' favorite to me. So, and fighting people like Pavlovich, Tom Aspinall just dismantled him, but Pavlovich he broke his hand on Pavlovich's head. You know what I mean? Like, these dudes are real tough. These people aren't little walkovers for him. So, I don't know what Rab's really doing here other than for a payday. I think he might be compensated quite heavily for this one, coming over to Russia to fight Baby Fedor. But you've got I'm not even calling him his real name. Baby Fedor's going to win this all day for me. Like,
I don't think they're going to call him his real name either.
The audience won't.
I'm shocked. Minus 300 favorite Creole here. Honestly, I think that he is much more of a sure thing than Nikita against Brian Moore, which that's the same odds you're getting there. Rab Truesdale, I don't rate really at 10-7. And the sweetheart was meant as a joke. I would never seriously call you sweetheart, Bunny. It was just a joke. I am a princess, though. So just to make clear, this is for me, guys, not for anybody else. I'm the princess here. But Justin had a quick question. So before we move on to the next fight, maybe eventually Justin will learn how to spell my name. But I'm sure you guys get this question here and there, which, because we're very famous getting questions. Maybe Aaron, which I'll take the question for Aaron. If you can answer, Lewis, jump in, even the comment section. Any fighter, any weight class you can see easily make a run in the UFC right now can be champ. I think he's asking if we see anybody from Bellator being able to go over to UFC and be a champ. And yeah, sure. Sergio Pettis, AJ McKee, Patricio Pitt. I mean, that question just seems a little dated, to be honest with you, man. I think there's plenty of guys. I think Nemkov would make a very good run. Corey Anderson did make a good run. Is there anybody kind of Jalen Bates would be my random answer. I think Jalen Bates could go over to UFC right now and compete.
I think the guy fighting on this card, I'd put Usman in that. Usman Nurmagamedov.
Any Nurmagomedov. That's fair. Yeah,
just based on who he's with. You know he's going to have Ali Abdelaziz and behind him and all these.
Yeah, that would probably.
If it's from Bellator or Nemkov.
Yeah, that definitely is.
There's a few standouts, but
You think AJ McKee does well in the UFC featherweight division?
I think if Michael Chandler can do well in the lightweight division, then
Mm-hmm.
I think based on the people they fight, people have a real strong opinion of they're not going to compete in the UFC. Like the UFC have superhumans. This may
make people mad, but can Michael Chandler compete in the UFC?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, he can. Look what he nearly finished Oliveira
Exactly.
in that first, and in the second, he just got clumsy.
Yeah.
And it'll be a different thing. I'd like to see.
I can't wait for that Gaethje fight because I think that
that's gonna be a war.
I can't believe how counted out Michael Chandler has gotten because of how much people love Gaethje.
He is a tank. He is a unit. He is.
I'm currently picking Michael Chandler in that fight. Obviously, I have a couple more weeks to mull it over, but I'm leaning Chandler. So, yeah. We've awoken the bunny from the comments section.
We'll do some videos on that fight, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to talk that fight. I'll be there live in New York City for that one at MSG as well. But yeah, minus 300 on Baby Fedor here. I love that price as a parlay piece. I think he's very parlayable. I get 12-6, not a fantastic record though. So I will admit that, but I think you got a crowd behind you here. You got the experience, and you've got a guy he's facing in the Scottish Rab Truesdale that just, I'm not sure how great he is, but yeah. And indeed, as will Bunny. Bunny will be at 268 as well. Looking forward to that. That's going to be an awesome night. But this is the night we're talking about still for here. Anatoly Tokov taking on Sharaf Davimiradov. Just so many syllables. Sharaf, come on, man. Like, split the name in half. But this is an excellent fight, in all honesty, for the middleweight division. I'm really excited about this one. Sharaf Davimiradov.
Do you want to know how to pronounce it? Davlat
Muradov. Okay. Davlat Muradov. Taking on Anatoly Tokov. Thank you. Davlat Muradov is 18-3-1. He is originally from Tajikistan, one of my favorite countries to mispronunciate. Now fighting out of Russia, taking on the Russian Tokov. 29 years old for Sharaf, 31 for Tokov. 5'11", 5'10", very similar reaches, very similar builds here. Alexander Nevsky again, Stary Oskol taking on Team Ermac here. I'll be breaking down the Wolfhound first. Davlat Muradov, 18-3-1 for the 29-year-old. On a 6-fight win streak, fought in June of this year. Beat a Brazilian veteran in Kleber Silva. It was a really good fight. Really fun to go back and watch that one. Good back and forth in that one as well. And yeah, I mean, Sharaf was able to kind of implement the wrestling in 2 or 3 rounds, but the second round, Kleber really pushed it to him on the stand-up for sure. And definitely it seems that when Sharaf can't get it to the ground, things get very, very squirrely. Definitely it seems to kind of tire a little more on the feet, much more comfortable in the grappling. Has wins over Brett Cooper, which is always a solid win. Knocked him out with ACA, actually, in 2019. Wins
you
over.
Just read that name. Who was that lost to there, mate?
That loss. Oh yeah, sure. I was just getting to that. Well, he did get knocked out by Brett Cooper as well. So a win in ACB for Brett Cooper and a win in ACA for. But lost to Gazamurad Kiramiragomedov. Yeah, no problem there. Also lost to Berkmanov by armbar. So good level of competition. Has a win over Benny Alloway. That is not a bad fighter at all out of Australia. Jolton Lutterbach, a good fighter with PFL now. So he's faced a decent level of competition and also beat a decent level at times. Has some good finishes, mostly by strikes. Does have a few grappling finishes and decisions as well. Good wrestler. I think I'm excited to see this guy in Bellator. He's got 2 wins in 2021 with Open Fighting Championship, one over a 52-fight veteran and one over a 30-fight veteran. Was supposed to face Rafael Carvalho with LFA, and I think that whole card just sizzled out. I'm not sure what happened there, but would have loved to see that. That would have been an excellent test for Shiroff, but getting a tough test here in Anatoly Tokov, 29-3. Fantastic Russian record, 31 years old, 5'10", fighting on Nevsky, Team Nevsky, as his brother and a few others. Is a 5-fight Bellator veteran now, won all 5 of his fights, finished 4 of which, 2 by ground and pound, 1 with elbows, and then 2 by a choke finish, a front choke of Gerard Harris, as well as a guillotine of Vladimir Flipovich. Actually, has given Vladimir Flipovich 2 of his 3 losses in his career. Lost a majority decision to Ramzan Imiev. No shame there. Decision win over Alexander Shiretkovich, albeit in 2018, a little bit later. AJ Matthews, again, 2 wins over Vladimir Flipovich, a very good fighter. This is a really good fight. 2 very good grapplers. Tokov, Anatoly is I'd say the better, more well-rounded fighter here. Definitely more experience. I would lean towards him, but I have a feeling that these odds are going to be at a place where I'm just going to be passing on this. But again, I don't know. I think that Shiroff could be a really good challenge in this one. I do see Tokov getting the finish, though, in round 3, maybe round 2. I think Shiroff does show to slow down. As he slows down, his hands get much lower. So even if he's able to defend the grappling, I don't see him being successful in the grappling, and then it turns into a stand-up war. As always, the sirens are here because Washington, D.C. I gotta love it. But I'll take Tokov with a late finish, but I think this is a close fight. I like Shiroff. I think Shiroff is definitely ready. This is just a brutal Bellator debut here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's a real hard debut to fight someone that big as well. Tokov's a big dude. He fought middleweight, and I think he's fought light heavyweight in the past. He's a massive guy cutting down. So Shiroff's definitely the smaller guy. He's going to be quicker, but I think all the power and the technicality of striking does go back to Tokov. I think he, as you say, he's the better of the 2 brothers. For me, it's Tokov here. This is the sleeper fight for me. So it depends what people think of the card in general for betting. But on a sleeper fight, I never bet, because that is the one where anything can get caught. This is who's the damage? Darren Elkins.
Yeah.
When he fought Mirsad, that to me was a sleeper fight.
Yep.
Because of those sort of things, and I don't want to ever bet on those. But if I had to put my money on this one, it would be Tokov. Yeah. I would not recommend anyone to bet on something this close, because the domination Shiroff's shown in other organizations is real. But Tokov's doing it in Bellator against really decent opponents for the organization. So I would go with the experience, the technicality, the bigger guy when you're coming into this. So Tokov for me. I don't know the betting. What is the betting odds for this?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you brought up the Bektik-Elkins fight, because it was probably around these odds. Like, Tokov is a minus 450 favorite, 4.5 to 1 favorite. Ooh. Yeah, against Shiroff plus 350. I mean, Elkins was probably about plus 500 against Bektik, I bet, in that fight. So, yeah, again, these are sleeper fights for a reason. One of these giant odds of fights is going to be turned on its head. At least one of these, if not a few of these. This is one I'm just going to sit back and watch. I think it's very close, but Tokov, it appears to be a real deal. 29-3. You don't get 2 on accident. The level of competition he's faced and everything, but yeah, sleeper fights again. They don't get picked as pick'ems until afterwards, where people look at it and think it's kind of crazy, but. That is the opener for the main card. The next fight here. All right, Bunny. I really hope that you get to hear these odds for this next fight, Bunny, because you said that you mentioned that minus 500 makes you upset, right? Wait till you hear the odds for Usman Nurmagamedov, who, by the way, is cousins with Khabib, and is 13-0, 23.5 years old. By the way, this fight is at a catchweight of 160. So just to make it a little bit more brutal on his opponent from Finland, Patrick Piattelia, 11-8 against 13-0. First of all, like what are we doing here? But the Finnish guy, 11-8. Even his corner in this picture, they look concerned. Like they found out right here that they had to fight Usman Nurmagamedov next. Like this guy holding his chin, he's just like shit. And this guy looking like is like, no, I don't want to fight him. And this guy's like, he's going to die against Nurmagomedov. They're all correct. He fights Shutu Lati. Yeah, not.
I can pronounce that correctly for you if you'd like, as I have a Finnish person in my flat right now.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
That is called Lati.
Lati. Okay. Well,
I'm going to get my missus over to pronounce the name if you'd like.
Please. Voice. You can be our Finnish MMA representative.
Can you just say that name for me, please?
Patrick Piattelia.
There you go.
That was beautiful. That sounds so much better than when I say it. I need like a soundboard where don't worry, I'm not gonna have to say his name too many more times.
Yeah, Piattelia. Piattelia. There you go.
I'm not even gonna try to butcher this, especially in front of you.
It's nice to have a Finnish person in the.
Yeah. It's great to have you on the show, though. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. Much appreciated. That was gorgeous pronunciation, beautiful language. But anyways, Patrick, as I'll call him, coming off a loss at Bellator in September to Irish Ryan Roddy, 7-1 guy, got a decision there. Did beat David Hendon, obviously I think he's known as the Brazilian Swede, former UFC fighter back in the day. And then, yes, I'm going to get you to the odds, Bunny. 1 second. I have to build up this 9-7 monster here. Hasn't faced a great level of competition, honestly. Lost to mostly fighters I've not heard of as well on the Finnish regional scene. Anthony Dizzy I have heard of, so there's that. But it's not good when I'm talking about the guys that I've heard of that you've lost to. Haven't heard of any wins. Mostly decisions, has a couple submissions as well, arm triangle, rear naked choke. None of that is happening to Usman Nurmagomedov. Usman Nurmagomedov is the real deal. And because he's got Khabib's managing team, he gets to fight 9-7-1 guys this far into his career in the third fight from the top on a Bellator Russia card at a catchweight. Because he's like, I don't feel like cutting weight. Coming off a win against the 12-6 Manny Muro, goes to the 11-8 Patrick there. I mean, finishes in all but one of his 13 wins. Has submissions, ground and pound, punch knockouts. He's done it all. He's faced a good level of competition, not great. Mike Hamill is a good fighter for sure. I rate him highly. He's going to run right through Patrick here, finish round 1 by whatever the hell he wants.
Pretty much. It's. I'm pretty sure it's Patrick as well, by the way. It's just without the C. But
damn it.
Yeah, it's no crazy name. But Usman here is. I don't know how he's got this fight because Patrick has never. Or Patrick, I'm going to say it like you now, Patrick. Let's keep it the same. He is it Patrick Mini? What is it? Patrick. There you go.
Patrick.
Yeah, it was just saying whatever. Patrick. So, he's never fought out of Scandinavia, and if you've seen his last loss, he hangs his chin nice and high, and he gets hit with a nice left hook, just running cluelessly at the guy. It's super poor striking. The competition levels, if he was fighting over in Cage Warriors, he'd have a record of 0-7. Like he just wouldn't be there. He wouldn't be getting the fights. He's really poor. He comes in great shape. He loves fighting, but he's not. That's not what they do over there. You know, they're ice hockey people. They're not MMA people. Usman here is his striking is elite. What he did to Manny in that last fight with the knees, he can take it wherever he wants. He's got the jiu-jitsu as he took his back in that. I know he got up, but it's ridiculous how mismatched this fight really is. If it's not
why is this fight happening?
If this isn't minus 1,000 at least.
Oh, sir, you're gonna go much higher. So, Bunny,
man.
You mentioned that you don't like minus 500. How do you feel about minus 2,500? By the way, what that means is he's
put £1 on him.
What that means is he's a 25-1 favorite. It means you have to put $2,500 down. That's 2,500 to win $100.
They're lucky Patrick doesn't have to go far, as it's only next door.
Yeah. Finland is very close to Russia. That's good.
It's on the border, yeah. So
you can't get closer. You cannot get closer than the border unless you're in the fucking country. So, but Usman is closer because he is from Russia, and he doesn't have to cut weight. He's like, you know what? I want at 160. Also, they're like, okay.
Also, the Russians do not like the Finns.
Yeah. So this is brutal.
He's gonna get booed big time. He must be getting a hefty payday. That's all I can say.
Can you imagine if he wins? This will be one of the greatest upsets in MMA history. Like, I think it would. Yeah, this would. I think it would be the greatest if he beats Usman Nurmagamedov on Saturday. I will shave my head live on air next. I will join you. My eyebrows. I will shave my eyebrows, my head, everything. Like,
if someone does bet this, send us a message.
Yeah,
I'll put it on all over social.
This is one of the dumbest matchups I've seen in a long time.
Or the greatest.
All right.
I just hope
Bunny and I will shave our heads, Vendetta style. Frankly, Bunny, you would rock it. So I would look like a fucking Humpty Dumpty, though. But that's okay. Enough about that fight. Third from the top. Now I'm just interested to watch it to see if I'm gonna have to shave my head. But we're back to regular MMA a little bit here. Really, the final three fights on this card, bizarre. The whole main card, bizarre. I'm really putting it together. But Vitaly Minakov taking on Said Salma at heavyweight. This will be an interesting fight. I'll say that much. Vitaly, if it wasn't for visa issues, maybe would be the best heavyweight in the world right now, if I'm being honest. 22-1, 36 years old for the Russian, 6'3", 76-inch reach. Fight Night's team taking on ATT representative out of Coconut Creek, Florida, Said Salma, 7-2, 28 years old, 245 versus 262, 6 foot, 76-inch reach. So we got the little quicker of foot, fleet of foot, Said Salma, definitely more of kind of a new school heavyweight here, 28 years old, only 7-2. ATT, good camp, fighting out of Bellator, fought at last in July. It was the second Bellator fight, first one coming against Terrell Fortune. Good fight with Terrell Fortune, honestly, and really an interesting, an interesting fight. I thought it was very close. Went back and watched it, actually. He gave Terrell Fortune everything he could handle in that one for sure. And I kind of, thought Said won it, but either way, I don't think it was a blowaway performance by Tyrell. Before that, Said had fought a pretty low level of competition. He did have a win over Bobby Brent, 17-7. Besides that, don't recognize too many of the opponents he beat. He did lose to Giant Steve Mowry in his first fight ever with Titan, so no shame there in 2018. Came back and starched Ronnie Marks, who just I, for whatever reason, thought Ronnie Marks had a chance in that fight with Said, and then saw the weigh-ins and quickly changed my opinion. But yeah, Said did what he had to do with the guy who didn't belong in there, Ronnie, or Hani, I should say. And that was back in July, staying active here against Vitaly Minakov. 22-1, Bellator long, Bellator veteran, former Bellator heavyweight champion, has a win over Timothy Johnson in his last fight back in August. Knocked him out in the first round of that fight. And then he was on his way. He was going to fight Javi Ayala, visa issues. And then he was going to fight Tyrell Fortune. And Fortune had to withdraw from this fight, and now Said Salma gets the fight. I think that it's all about with Minakov if he's really continuing to stay dedicated to the game at this point with these long layoffs he's been having. I know he's gotten much more into coaching. I know he's coached his brother and others, so that probably is a good indication he's stayed active in the game. But I just don't know how he's going to look. He's coming back. 36 isn't super old for the heavyweight division. I will say that much. His only loss was a very close fight against Czech Congo as well. And so, yeah, I think that, this is a tough one for me. I am tempted to go with Salma, but my brain is telling me Vitaly Minakov is just too good, too well-rounded, too big here. Not slow himself either. It's pretty quick heavyweight himself. He has been off for a couple years, so I don't know how he's going to look coming back here, but I'll take Minakov, but I'm not super, super duper confident in this one. I'm worried the odds are going to be kind of ridiculous because they'll just see 22-1 against 7-2. And a guy in Salma who to most people just kind of looks so. But I think Salma's got a real chance to be a long-standing Bellator rep here, and this would be a huge win for him if he gets this. But,
this isn't a mismatch, bro, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like at all. Vitaly is the experience. He is the power. He's got the record. He's 36 years old, though. He is slowing down. He hasn't fought in a couple of years. Salma is quicker. He's trained with an extremely good camp in ATT, and they're full of big dudes. That's what they are. And they're very wrestling heavy. So, he's got everything in the bag to defend against the Russians and their styles. Saying that, Vitaly has a nice little technique of a punch instead of a wrestling base. So I've got Minakov winning this all day.
Yeah.
I just think he's overwhelming amount of power. And as you say, if he didn't have visa issues, he might be, the guy. So beating Tim Johnson, as we'll probably talk about in the next fight as well, is a big deal to me.
Yeah. Starched him. Came back after a long layoff there too, and did not look worse for the wear at all. Yeah. Minus 300 again, though, we got on Minakov. Plus 240 on Salma. I mean, I get it. I get Minakov, the former champion here. Triple the experience of Salma. Big, much larger in Russia. I mean, it all does tick for him. The minus 300 does make sense. So we do agree there. We finished with
where we might disagree.
Yes, and the bizarre. We finished with 2 heavyweight fights on this card, which is kind of interesting. But what a bizarrely beautiful main event. Any main event with Fedor is bizarre. Any main event with Fedor is beautiful to me. Fedor, one of the original reasons why I got into MMA, I'll be honest. So many of us, not a very unique thing. Taking on a guy I really like in Timothy Johnson, though. I love Timothy Johnson. The mustache, the fighting style. He's really fun to watch and doesn't shy away from tough matchups. This is a really, really good old school, like Pride style American versus Russian matchup. Don Fry vibes here for Tim Johnson, but he fights much better than Don Fry. Thank God for him. But Fedor, 39-6. Still a fantastic record. I mean, it's so crazy how long he went without a loss. To still kind of have stumbled a few times over the last few years, and 39-6 is still the record. Absolutely crazy. Tim Johnson, 15-7. Just, again, why MMA is so much more than the record. He's 15-7, I think, because of the level of competition he's faced throughout his career. 36 years old. Known as a brawler, fighting out of the Academy of Combat Arts here. Coming off that loss to Valentin Moldavsky. Very competitive fight there. Gave Valentin all he could handle in that fight, honestly. It's just one of these things where I had Timothy Johnson in that fight. I just felt like he just was not able to piece together the striking to transition to the grappling that he needed to. And he was just a little bit too plodding and not, throwing a little bit of naked kind of takedown attempts, just got a little bit too focused on the wrestling and forgot about the stand-up. Against Czech Congo, I think he was able to mix that up a little bit better. That was a very close fight, though. But I do think that he won that fight, and winning over Czech Congo in 2020 is a very relevant win. Knocked out Matt Mitrione with gorgeous ground and pound, knocked out Terrell Fortune. He surprises a lot of guys with that first round kind of ability. He's started to do that. I think that was kind of the problem with Valentin Moldavsky, is that he fell in love with the one-punch power a little bit too much and wasn't piecing together combinations, wasn't looking to add enough volume for my liking. So with Fedor, I think that if you're plodding forward and you're waiting for Fedor to pop you and put you to sleep. And Fedor, that is the only way Fedor is winning in 2021, is he's gonna sneak under under one of your looping shots and a KO. I can go to Fedor's fights here. Sorry, the dogs are going crazy, of course, because we're just about done with the breakdown. But Fedor's last 4 fights: Frank Mir, Chael Sonnen, and Quentin Rampage Jackson are the wins. Got knocked out by Bader as well as Matt Mitrione. Me and the dogs, we got Fedor. Honestly, the dogs are a fan of Fedor because Fedor is a dog in this fight. I can't pass up Fedor as a dog in Russia. If it goes to a decision, Timothy Johnson ain't winning. And if it goes to a decision, God pray for us all, because that's going to be a brutal decision. Me and the dogs, we got Fedor. What are your thoughts? I'm going to get them under control. 1 second.
No, basically, I agree with everything Aaron was saying there. For me, Fedor's main thing here is the speed. If you watch, I know his relevant win, or he's not relevant at all, really, the Quinton Jackson fight. Jackson came into that almost morbidly obese, I would say, where his belly was bigger than the rest of him.
Yes.
He's an absolute plodder. He had no right coming back to fighting. I have no idea why he did. Maybe he was broke, but that's the only option I could do. I have done a video on this in more depth on my channel, if you guys do want to see that. But I'll be nice and brief here. Man, if you don't believe it, just Google the picture. He was morbidly obese. He had a baby growing in that belly. But what you see from that 44-year-old man, 43-year-old man at the time, is the speed is there. I don't know how he hasn't lost the speed of the combinations. So whenever he fights someone, it is true. So I think the relevant wins for him, because it's so close to Tim Johnson. Tim Johnson is a blitzer. If you watch the Tyrell Fortune fight, he runs forward, throwing random ass hooks just to connect one to get close to then land the sweet spot. He's a charger. If you charge at Fedor, he's going to just backstep and hit you with a 3-piece combination every time. If he's 70 years old, it would be crazy.
Also, Justin here. Johnson's been a good surprise, but come on. Fedor gets to super pick his fights, especially in Russia. Most likely some agent's going to come in, prick Johnson secretly, and going to make Johnson semi-drowsy.
It's going to be like the end of Gladiator, isn't it? Someone's going to just, yeah. But you know it. You know the crowd is going to absolutely destroy Johnson. It's Fedor. That is the god. That's,
right.
That is the man of
every and if it is a competitive decision, which is what it will be if it goes to a decision, what world does Timothy Johnson win to competitive like a split decision for Timothy Johnson?
It won't happen. That their judges are worse than the English judges. So that but the relevance of the blitzing from Johnson is he'll just backstep and hit him with the speed. He did it to Frank Mir. Frank Mir is a very good boxer in his later days. Obviously known for his grappling. He's phenomenal jiu-jitsu.
In 1 second, real quick, I will be literally right back. But just tell people a little bit about your channel and everything, and then we'll come back and wrap this up here. I will literally be right back.
You got it. Guys, the channel basically is opinions. It's the point to get the fan across. So if you ever want to talk about a fight, we talk about it in the comments. I make the video based on the opinion. And if you guys want to see that, it is on Norton MMA. We do an MMA show as well, just like a podcast, like most people else. It's quite rare, but that isn't necessarily about the weekend's fights. It could be just about anything. Me and Aaron did one based on Darren Till's misfortunes and how he writes Darren Till off. And I'm still, as an Englishman, having to back him all the way. So, but if you ever want to come on it, you come on it. It doesn't matter who you are or whatever. You can always just talk. If you love exactly that. If you like talking about fights, you just come on the channel. It's no problem at all. But yeah, that's the MMA show on it. We've got, what else have we got? We've got every Who Wins. So the Who Wins are basically the prediction videos based on fights I find entertaining. I don't look at fights I don't find entertaining to put on the channel, because what's the point? The point is to have fun on it, not to just rattle off every single fight. So if I was doing a Who Wins, I've done one on Fedor and Tim Johnson for this fight. I wouldn't do one on any of the prelims, for instance. Because I also love his channel. Lewis is good people. Thank you very much for that. Do appreciate that. Yeah, but if you do want to head over, I think we've just hit over 4. I haven't checked in a day or two on the channel, to be honest, because of work. But I'm pretty sure we've just hit over 400 subs, which is awesome, considering the channel's about a year old now, and I did take a 5-month hiatus off of it. So it's yeah. So thank you if you guys in the chat have actually been on the channel. That's nice of you. But, 400 subs down. Yeah. Well, aiming next year to get monetized, so that would be nice. There's no way they let Fedor lose his last fight in Russia, in my opinion. No, exactly. But I mean, in the chat, do you think that Fedor is going to get blitzed in the same style that he was doing to Tyrell Fortune, or do you think he can land those speedy combinations that he has done in the last of his fights, even the man Mitchell before he got clipped? And that can happen to anyone. And same as Ryan Bader is an elite level fighter for Bellator. I would say if you put him in the UFC at the moment, he'd probably just be like scraping the top 10s at the moment, especially at the age he's at. I'm waiting for these comments to roll now. I want the opinions of Fedor. This is my show now. I'm dominating. Taking over the Aaron the Dog channel. Aaron will be right back for new viewers. Tim should... I 100% agree with that comment. He should win. But Fedor... Everyone says the power is the last thing to go in heavyweights. Why has Fedor still got his speed? That's my question.
All right. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, nothing like running the old dog business and someone picking up their dog early. So then they wanted to tell me all about the day. But yeah, Lewis, check out Norton MMA if he did not already mention that multiple times. But
this is now my show, Aaron. This is.
I mean, honestly, I need to like find some weaker co-hosts, because between Lewis, Bunny, Brian, who will be making his return back to the UFC breakdowns very soon. He has some news that I'll allow him to share when he's ready, but it is good news. And yeah, I'm coming back clueless, indeed. As always, what the fuck? This isn't my show anymore. Lewis, you want to talk us out and plug my show so that people actually want to subscribe? No, but did you tell everybody what's going on your channel? Everything coming up?
It's all going on. Basically, Tim should win, but I'm betting Fedor. And you've changed your tune because you had Tim winning. So
I changed my tune. I just, I gotta go with Fedor here. But
Fedor to knock that mustache off.
I mean, Tim Johnson has been knocked out before in the first round, and I think it definitely happens again here. Another thing, which you never can trust what Fedor is saying exactly, but I do like that Fedor has been very staunch that this is not my last fight. He's not checked out. I'm sure that the drug tests that he's having to face are, I'll say, minimal at best. So
drug testing.
Exactly. Have you seen Icarus or whatever it is? I believe that's what. Yeah. Russia had to be called. What did they have to be called? The Olympics, because they're such cheaters. Like the Union of Russia. It wasn't even like the country, because they're like, you guys cheat so much that you can't be represented as a country. Like, oh my god. Yeah, but yeah, honestly, that's gonna do it for the breakdown show here. I apologize for having to dip out there at the last second, Lewis, but honestly, I'm sure it was the most distinct and like well-spoken the show's ever been. So viewers were probably confused. They're like, I don't tune into Aaron the Dog for this, but what can I say? This is the key to success: is you surround yourself with people who are more talented than you are, so that when you're working with them, you can just be like, yeah, my channel's great. I have people like Bunny, I have people like Brian, I have people like Lewis. then there's me. But the comment section's never about me. It's always about like Bunny. It's always about you. It's like just surround yourself.
You're doing yourself a disservice there, sir.
Yeah, not at all. But there we go. Fishing for the compliment. I got it. But anyways, as always, Lewis, last week we killed it on the Bellator show. We're gonna, honestly, I think kill it again this week. I think there's a few. I don't sell myself short, you guys. I sell myself proper. Stop it. You're all awesome. Self-deprecating humor is how I get through my day, and it will always be. But yeah, I'm excited about this card. There is going to be a surprise or two on it. We'll be back. I will be back with the UFC Breakdown show tomorrow night, Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We will have at least one special guest besides Bunny, who will be joining me. We'll have at least one special guest, maybe a couple fighters will be stopping by. I don't know. I never mentioned it because we know that the fight game is crazy and, things happen. So I don't want anybody to feel pressured. But there should be a couple special guests. We're also going to be breaking down this weekend's sneaky good card again with Costa versus Vettori at the top of it. Tremendous middleweight fight between two assholes. So that should be fun to break down. Also, I will be breaking down the LFA card taking place this Friday with another one of the very talented people I work with, Lucky Locks Picks MMA. We'll be breaking down the LFA on tomorrow. So double breakdown Thursday. We'll be breaking that down with Lucky Locks at 3 p.m. for the LFA card on Friday. And then back with Bunny at 7 p.m. on Thursday for the UFC card. Appreciate it, Justin. You are a very interesting individual yourself. I will say that much. Miz, Justin, Visceral, Lewis, Bunny, everybody else. If I'm forgetting you, I'm not forgetting you. I'm just high or not high. That's the problem. But yeah, hour and a half breakdown. I think that's going to do it. Yeah, Costa won't make weight. We don't know what's going on. Okay, great. It's a catch weight now. Okay, we'll talk about all this tomorrow. This is why I wait till later in the week for UFC breakdowns. But for Aaron and Lewis, keep taking care of each other out there, everybody. Thank you so much for checking out the show, subscribing, liking. It all means a ton. Definitely give Norton MMA a follow and a like as well. He's killing it out there. Until next time, Lewis, thank you so much, sir, and have a great evening over there for you, afternoon over there if you're in the States. Peace out, everybody.
See you, man.
Peace.